Welcome to OG Foundation, capital of the sovereign state of Elodium. I am your host, Sovereign Non of Elodium, and this is the kind of fall project video, one of two. It is, right now, it's the 28th of Priam, because I'm making this intro at the very end of this 1 month period. All of the months in Elodium have 28 days. There's 13 months with 28 days. Priam is the first month. So this video is 4 weeks of projects. It's been going kind of slow because the last season ended on October 9th, and my work rate vastly slows down after that. And I'll be publishing this tomorrow, which is the first of Scorpio, the second month of Scorpio. And yep, I'm giving you a whole 360-degree view, so you can see up here on the Molly Stark Tower, which was all built this year, flying the Stark flag till the day I die. You can actually see it's been so intense, the wind, if I can get the freaking angle right on this thing, it's already starting to fray a little bit on the top of it. Can you tell? Yeah, this is difficult to do. It's probably pretty windy too. So today I ordered five more flags, so that when this one is too frayed, I've got replacements, so I'll never be short of the Stark flag. This is the Stark flag, which is also the flag of the country of Vermont, which I'm going to get into, but it's actually the entire continent. What you think of as North and South America, it's all Vermont. The whole country is all Vermont. And Stark is the cult leader. It's all about John Stark, and who has been erased from history. You don't know anything about him. You think John Stark is someone in the Game of Thrones, and you think Stark, you think of like Tony Stark or something, but the original John Stark was the most badass Stark ever. And yet the cult of Washington ended up replacing what would have otherwise been the whole country of Vermont. And because Washington had the Masons and the Jews on his side, Stark was just on his own, basically. He had Jefferson on his side and the Democratic Republicans. But the feds won out for about 250 years, and their time is over, and now it's the time of Stark, the decentralized people and the militia, and I'm in the cult of Stark here. The cult of Stark and of Vermont. And out of Vermont comes OG Foundation here, and out of OG Foundation comes Elodium, and that's way more information than you care to hear, so I'll just get right into the video, or the projects now. It is 10:10 a.m. on the 1st of Priam in the 9th year of Elodium, which is October 11th. Basically, I have to clear away through this area to get a camper in there because the imperious neighbor is being threatening and domineering and not allowing me to put the camper in the most convenient place that's not interfering with anyone, and is anyways, plan B is that it's going to park in here. On the other side, these gates open, so I've got to clear out all this brush, and I've got a bunch of panels, so I've got to move the panels to make way to back a trailer through there. The neighbor actually pirated the person's camper. They took it, and now they have it like in captivity as if they're like impounding it. That's the crazy behavior. But I'll have to liberate it today or tomorrow. But first I gotta prep the space. The pear trees over here have had their best year yet. Look at the size of this pear. There's you can see them. There's lots of them on this one. Bunch over there. So it's good timing. So yeah, this year there was no plums at all. The peaches did okay. The apples did pretty good. And the pears did the best yet. There was one pear tree that fell over here last year, and the bottom of it is still surviving. So you can kind of see that right there. That is the pear tree. And then there's one in this big tire, and then another one in this big tire. This one has been quite a bit smaller, and it got stunted from one trimming, and because it doesn't get as much sun, and it has some berries competing in the tire, but it's still alive. I just don't think it made any pears, but there's 3 pear trees right around here, and yeah, the best year yet for pears. This willow tree here It's incredible. At one point this was like a little ornamental thing, and then it like died, and then it came back to life, and it's just massive, taking over everything. So this is the fourth trailer that I've removed from here, so the double gates there are just about free to be able to back a trailer through, and I'm bringing this over by the Molly Stark Tower, where I will start insulating the ground around the tower and the tower itself. Some of these had some ants in them, so I'm letting the ants kind of reposition, and that's all I'm moving for today. Tomorrow the camper should get into place there. My favorite saying of all, where there's a will, there is a way. And as you can see, the way has been made. And now I'll do my best to navigate that way, though I may want to cut some of these branches back first. Mission complete. And the first day of Priam in the year 9 of Elodium is off to a good start. I'm gonna finish the day with a fire, go through the burnables, and also this chimney pipe piece. I'm gonna give it a fire test. So once I get this fire nice and hot, I'll throw the chimney pipe in and see if it melts. And if it melts, then I know I can't connect it to the wood stove. And if it doesn't melt, I don't gotta worry about it. So it'll be a good test. Got it pretty hot. Chimney pipe looking okay for now. It's still not really a really hot bed of coals though, so once I get, it'll still get hotter, and then I'll put it right in the middle of it. Alright, so that chimney pipe is really getting it now. It almost looks like part of it is turning a little orange, but can't quite tell. We'll give it another 20 minutes of this. So I think we're about peak heat, and it's looking like you can barely even see it in there, but it's looking good. It looks like, from what I can tell, it's still intact. Not sure how good my hazelnut bushes are doing. There's one there, there's one there, and then there's a third one, and you can see a fourth one. And I think there's one on the other side of the bus too. I planted these last spring, I believe, and they're pretty well rooted now. I think they're supposed to make little nuts, and they're not like trees, not like hazelnut trees, but they're like shrubs that grow like maybe up to 10 feet tall or something. So I figured this would be a pretty interesting, or like planting it right up against the fence. Pretty good. Like that one's already grown up over the fence, and so it can provide, like, I don't know if it would be like a sort of like a hedge, I don't know, but maybe more food production. Anyways, it's all pretty darn messy back here. My electric fence idea with the goats was a complete fail, mostly because the fence got struck by lightning soon after, and then also the boys just like escaped from it. Anyways, I'm harvesting some more boxwood elder branches for them to put in their pen before I put them out today. And then there's like seasonally there can be some really high wind, and so I think today what I'm gonna do is do a little wind defense preparation. Basically, this fence is now like, I don't know, like 8-9 years old, and I never like sealed it on this one side. I did paint the other side, but it's falling apart certainly. But you can see how I've got 2x4s in there to reinforce it in some places. But it's done well so far, and all those posts are in really well. All those posts are cemented in, and the posts have all stayed super straight. It's just the fence panels, and it's actually mostly, because I bought like the cheapest ones, it's mostly the wood cross things that are giving out. Like there's not a whole bunch of actually like vertical panels that are fully rotted. So anyways, that's what I'm into today, and gonna get the people whose camper that is, or the lady, get her all settled today. And so the next day, after the fire and everything, it's in the same condition it was in before all the heat. So whatever it's made out of, it is going to be in no risk being right up against the wood stove in the base of the gate tower there. It's got no risk. At some point in the last 10 years or so, the wood pallets that I screwed to the roof to be the solar panel mounts have degraded, and the last kind of like piece of wood on that pallet is rotted out, so that panel is falling off. And so I'm just going to use this piece of whatever OSB that I had used for forms, and it's pretty much trash otherwise. So I'll put this trash on that trash and just screw this into the remaining pallet, and that should be good for a couple more years until I got to do something else over here. So I actually had to replace the whole pallet because that pallet was basically rotted out, but it's all back together. There's some sketchy pieces, like using some of the planks from the rotted pallet, but it's all mounted pretty solid. And now I just got to do a little bit of maintenance over here where the waterproofing is really degraded. So I'm going to clean up this valley and see if I can, I don't know if I have any ice and water here, but I got to do something about this valley. Well, I wouldn't say it's my best work, but I used what I had, which was some of that metal. And now the panels are all remounted, and there's a good bit of maintenance on the roof. And if I can get a thing of ice and water, I could probably vastly improve the waterproofness up here. But I don't have it right now. But I'll likely apply some before the winter time. But that's all for this little project for today. Give you a little seasonal shot, see how much green we got left. Only gonna have less and less green over the coming weeks. But these boys, they find food to eat. Even in the wintertime, they'll find some dead leaves and stuff to eat. They're good grazers. There's almost always food for them to eat. So anyways, it was a good day. Got this thing all situated and did some waterproofing, or wind preparation with the fence. Got like three or four 2x4s up and like resecuring the fence, screwing it off, so it's all good. And then that secured that solar panel, and worked on that gutter, and then cleaned up some other gutters, and that's it for today. So it's the end of the day on Monday, the 13th, and October. I finished the platform today. I put a little door in here, though, because of some issues with the hinge, it doesn't sit flush, and so I screwed it in, because it kind of like it'll go down, but it kind of sits up a bit, and you probably like stub your toe on it, so it's probably not going to be for regular use, but more just for you just have to use a screwdriver anytime you access it, and you can fit a good bit of stuff in here. If at some point it needed to be widened, these things could be widened a little bit, but that's good to give access to that. And even if it's screwed closed for now, I'll probably find a better solution for that sometime in the future, or maybe figure out a way to redo this hinge so it doesn't kind of like pinch on itself and kind of then push the thing up. But anyways, great to get the platform done. It's at such a height that if you're on this stair here, you just basically walk from here to there instead of stepping down there. And so I think I'm gonna have to put a drain in there, though I'm not totally positive, and then it would make sense to do like a half stair, maybe like all the way from here to there or something, because it's pretty far to go from here down to here. It's probably another 6 inches taller than this stair, which is already pretty tall. But the wood stove's already, the windows are going to take a while, and so now that the floor is complete, the next task for me in here is the walls as well as the door. But that's it for today. I'm harvesting the pears now, and I thought this little tree didn't have one, but it's got this little pear right here. And you can see this one, there's lots of them. I'm going to harvest them all now. The ones that are too hard, they'll just kind of ripen after they're picked. I want to get them now so I don't lose them. Check out the pear haul. More than I expected. There's only like maybe one or two that I couldn't reach up there. And in the process of harvesting these lower branches, I cleared out all of the kind of viney type things that had grown up on it. And this tree's pretty funky, but it's big. And yeah, happy with the pear harvest for today. Well, for this season rather. That's all the final pears for this season. Best yet. So after 11 years, this pressure treated timbers for this raised bed is rotted out, basically. A couple of them are less rotted that didn't get as wet, but pretty much all the whole bottom rotted out. And the cool thing is that these stakes, which are actually kind of expensive, they're all fine, and I can salvage them and reuse them at some point. Here's a big one. So that's a good thing, that the metal's all reusable. And maybe if there's a good deal on wood at some point when the depression sets in, I'll be able to get these. I think I bought these for 99 cents each. Now they probably cost between $5 and $8 each. So this thing, that would have been like, I don't know, 10, 15 bucks when I built it. To replace it would be like $150 or something. So I'll be patient. I'm not in a big rush. And just the state of decay of some things. I let 10, 11 years for a pressure-treated timber thing to rot. Monday morning, and I did a bit of framing. There is a door in here which opens, and so I'm gonna put some, like, double up some 1-inch insulation, maybe even triple up. We'll see how it goes. The pink insulation board in the door, and then I framed out this to kind of figure out this transition. Looks a little bit funky on the piece on the right, but basically kind of closed off that, and I just need enough 2x6s to basically have enough structural strength for the door, and then the rest is just going to be piecing in the 6-inch insulation pieces into the various holes. And so I'm gonna eat some food, and then I'll probably get into the insulating that door and try to finish that up next. End of the day, Wednesday, and I got a door up there. All of that siding was Cull Shipboard, I think it's called, Cull lumber from Home Depot. And then there's two different kinds of wood on the top, both Cull lumber. This is, I don't know exactly what this is called, but it had that. So I had to kind of, oh boy, this is my temporary little door latch here. So you can see, this is, I don't know, there's different kind of Cull lumber that I kind of combined. I had to cut one edge of that because that was like a tongue and groove type thing, and then put a little bevel or whatever angle on that top edge, and then all throughout the inside there's 2 inches of the foam. So I doubled up the 1-inch foam for the bottom and the top. Actually, before I finish today, I'm going to go through and foam on the inside, but I got some good foam basically throughout there. And that one board of foam was basically fully used up for that door. There's just a couple scraps, but the door is pretty darn solid. I'm really happy with that little plexiglass window situation, and use that whole piece of plexiglass with just a little bit left over, which I don't know if I'll end up using that little piece. So yeah, it's all good. I just have to figure out the latches. And that is it for today. Thursday afternoon, and got to start on some of these foam panels. It's like really frustrating to do this kind of work, and I've got I'm just not in a good mental space for work right now. Got a very short temper at the transitions of the seasons and whatnot, so that's all I'm doing for today. It's probably like 1 hour or something, but better than nothing. It's Friday morning, and there was a ninja surprise attack last night on the Citadel, on the family. Miriam set off the alarm sometime around or after midnight that there was an attack, and so I dove out the window. That's my bedroom. Dove out head first in my underwear and barefoot with my 40 cal and flashlight, ready to engage the ninjas. As before, have I shot the ninjas in the middle of their assault. So what happened is there's this chicken wire here, and they've made holes in it. They had done this previously, and I've like repaired it, but somehow they're just it's the raccoons that are the ninjas, if you haven't figured that out yet. They steal my fruit. They've killed chickens in the past. They haven't killed any chickens this year, but they ripped a hole right here. That's a smaller one. And then look at the size of this one. This is the size big enough for a hole. So I put this box fence there in the middle of the night. and then put these things on it to fill these holes. And then there's another big hole right here. So it had probably been like multiple days or nights. They had pre-planned this attack, or basically they probably just had been getting in there. How's it going, Wasabi? Wasabi's a boy, by the way. For a while I was calling Wasabi a girl, but Wasabi's definitely a boy. But last night they did something. So Miriam, the young girl who was born this year, she was up on the coop up there, and so she's right there. She set off the alarm, and by the time I got out here, the coons had already ran away, so they escaped with their lives this time. But if I get in here, if I get into the Citadel and the coons are in the Citadel, they haven't escaped, then we're gonna have dead ninjas, midnight engagements. And the last one I killed was like 20-30 pounds. It was heavy. I had to carry it like half a mile away. But anyways, everyone's okay. No one died. The ninjas got away and all the animals are okay. Just a bit of drama in the night. But to test my reaction time, I've got about a 3 to 5 second reaction time to be armed and outside the window, ready to kill in the middle of the night. It's Friday morning, and I'm up on the sill here, and I'm going to get into epoxy today. So I'm going to start on this flat area. It's got some areas where thin layers of mortar that weren't sealed after 2 winters. Some of it is crumbling. And so what I'm going to do is clean up all of the crumbly stuff, and then I'm just going to put epoxy right over that, and we'll see how it goes. So after cleaning up the floor in here, I realized it's actually a bit worse than I thought. Like right here, it's all the way down to where the aircrete is. None of this part isn't structural. It's just like covering up, it's like a surface to cover up where the aircrete is, and it has a sub drain, so it's not that big a deal. So I wasn't too concerned with it, but basically, because there's some low areas over here, I'm going to have to add mortar before I do epoxy, because otherwise it's just going to take too much epoxy, and the epoxy that I have isn't really meant to be applied in like thick layers or whatever. So I got to check the weather, but I'm thinking I'm going to do some special kind of mortar batch to apply to the low areas, weather permitting, and add plenty of calcium nitrate to speed up the curing process. You can see here, I've tried to sort of take off everything that's flaky, kind of stomping on it and hitting it with the broom handle and stuff. So I need to get out as much of the stuff that will easily come up now, and then I'll see about doing some sort of mortar, or if it's even possible. So after reviewing the weather, it turns out tonight it's going to get down to just about freezing, but after that, it should be good. So I'm going to skip this surface for today and see, maybe I'll do epoxy over there. So the next epoxy idea is to seal the top of the gate tower here. So I'm going to start from the top. First I got to sweep it real good. And then I'm going to start from the top, work my way down, and get this whole section done before moving on to down there, and we'll see how far I can get with the 5 gallons there. Alright, so it's all cleaned up now, and I'm ready to epoxy. So all 5 gallons applied, and it was just enough to get coverage on all this. I was actually thinking it was going to get more coverage. I was thinking it was at least going to get these stairs, but because it's like so not flat, it's there's so much texture in the floor. There's lots of little places for the epoxy to build up, and so like little bubbles like up here, kind of like there's like a little bubble. So it's good to like go back over it several times and just kind of try to rub it in and get it to fill the holes. But that's full coverage. I'm really happy with how that turned out. It's like, this stuff is expensive, but it's also just really satisfying to get it on, and it just I don't know, it's just satisfying. Okay, so I'm all done with epoxy for now. I think that's all I'm gonna do today. So I accomplished my task, I think this will be the last batch outside of mortar. I made a special batch, so a normal batch of mortar plus a half bag of surface bonding cement, plus a lot of extra fiberglass, plus 3% calcium nitrate. So this will cure extra fast and have anti-freeze properties, even though it should be all good anyways. Got this nice and smooth. Hopefully it drains just fine. And basically, once this is all dried, probably in about a week, I'll apply the epoxy onto this. But this is all good for now. And then I've got a bucket or bucket and a half in other places just to do a bit of maintenance on cracks and stuff. But yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot. In that last batch of mortar, I added maybe a third or a quarter gallon of this as well to the mortar mix, which is the first time I've used this, and supposedly it's going to help with the bonding between the new mortar and the old mortar. And so, once again, I'm just trying to figure things out, learn by failing, and we'll see how this batch turns out with all of these added things into the mortar. There's so many things you can add into mortar, into cement, to change the chemistry of it, which is really neat. And so I'm just learning all of that and experimenting. We're getting bombed. There's an air assault. This guy over here, he's circling, making diving runs. Circling and making diving runs. And increasing the throttle and then decreasing the throttle. Look at this fucker. I was just inside like, what is that noise? It sounded like stall speed, and then he got super fast, and then it flew all around. He's like, what is this awesome castle over here? Practicing the bombing run. Here's how this turned out after a good bit of rain. It is doing pretty darn good. It's just got a couple of tiny little pools. There's one little one there, two little ones there. So I'm happy with that. Once I apply epoxy, maybe it'll get even better, but you gotta give it some time to cure. I just came out here because this plane is doing some crazy kind of maneuvers and was buzzing us. And then it sounded like it was gonna come back, but I think it's gone. Here up on the gate tower, this is dried for through 2 nights. The first night was pretty cold. Or was this just 1 night? No, yeah, so this is 2 nights. And you can see over here there's still wet stuff because it like went on so thick over here where there's a lot of rough stuff. So it's probably not really ideal to have this kind of pooling like this, but it's kind of like a little bit sticky still, so it's like it's too dried out to really work it now. So I'm just gonna leave it like that. And so just another good learning lesson. Maybe if I would have came back a little bit earlier, I could have kind of like worked this in a little bit better, but it's not really a big deal. It's mostly right here. Like there's a little low spot, and then here's a little low spot where the mortar, it's just a thin mortar that was over like a whole aircrete kind of filler in here. So I think this is probably the aircrete surface, and that's that'll definitely need some more to fill that in. So like ideally, if I would have got to this earlier with some gloves, I could have just like pulled some of this loose stuff into these divots. But probably tomorrow I'm gonna come through and get a second coat on some of the areas, at least in those holes, and then probably get a second coat on the top of the Molly Stark Tower over there. And if I open up the other 5-gallon one that I have, I'll probably end up getting some on over here or something. Here's another area where there's just really thin mortar over some insulation panels that went on pretty quickly, and it's not like the most solid mortar or whatever, but having the epoxy on it will make it hold up longer, and if more chips off, I can just reapply the epoxy. But tomorrow, I got a little start today. I'm going to do some insulation around the base of the Molly Stark Tower. I'll probably be getting into that tomorrow, that and epoxy. But that's it for today. I think I'm going to go get the boys. So it is Tuesday, October 28th, and this mortar here has cured for maybe around 2 weeks or something like that. It's probably about the last opportunity today to apply this epoxy onto it with the temperatures and whatnot, so I'm gonna get to it. So that went about as good as I could have hoped. This thing gets it like too thin on flat surfaces, so it's good for like moving it around, but then I had to go around by hand and kind of like just do it by hand. You're supposed to use a roller, but anyways, doing it by hand is better than this, so this can be helpful, though it's really not necessary. Anyways, that was probably like half or a little over half, and so I'm now going to go and apply the other half, probably get like a second coat on the top of the Molly Stark tower, and then just like apply it in different areas over there until it's all gone and use up the thing. So yeah, I also got all the way down into that drain there, and just as good as I could do. So you can see up here on the Molly Stark tower, this is like the areas where it was real thick and it dried too fast and kind of made these cracks. Yeah, it's kind of bad right here. It's the worst. So it'll probably take a good bit, not nearly as much as the first time, which took basically a full 5 gallons, but it'll go through and fill these cracks, and I think that will be a good final coat for up here. So I got a full second coat on all that, filled all of the cracks. There's some stuff falling into it, and we'll see how it dries, how it bonds, but it's gotta be better than before, right? Filling all those cracks and stuff. And I've still got more of this, so now I'll apply it in other places. So with the rest of it, I got this little corner here. You can kind of see the edge, but that corner, got this edge here where water like runs over and some cracks. I got the stairs, which also acts as like a drain, and then this whole area, I'm not sure if you can really see the edge, but it's like around there, and then this whole middle area. So now there's just this little kind of section right there in between that and there that I haven't gotten, and then that lower area, and then all of this. So I'll need at least probably 2 more. I've gone through 3 of these now, and I'm really happy with it. The only place where I've seen some negative things is right over there where it's like on the corners where it's really flat. It says where it's flat you're supposed to basically put some acid on it to kind of rough it up, and then I have seen in some places over there where some of it is kind of like flaking off in the really flat places, which is what the directions basically say would happen. But everywhere else where it's rough, it seems to be really well bonded. And so up there on the top will be the first area with a double coat, and we'll see how well that goes. And but really good today to get the whole kind of tower of the Citadel, the floor of that all done after that had gotten all mortared. And I'll just get some more of, at least 2 more of these next time I'm at the depot to get more of these areas done. You can see some areas, especially around the drain and where I apply salt in the winter, like around the drains, I put salt. That's where the worst kind of corrosion is, because there would be like standing water, standing salt, and freezing. And so even where there's some like flaky kind of mortar like there, the epoxy is kind of able to, I basically take off everything that I can take off and then epoxy over kind of the crack, and it seems to create a pretty good waterproof thing. But there's a drain right there in between those 2 solar panels, there's a drain right here, and then there's a drain over in the corner, and everywhere where there's a drain on the flat area, the thin kind of ferrous cement is having a rough time of it. But that's it for today. It's kind of like frustrating to work with stuff and messy, and I ended up going through a pair of those PVC gloves, surprisingly, but just because I'm like rubbing on the mortar, this rough mortar, just constantly just kind of working it in. It'll have like little air bubbles that'll form because it won't like get in really well, so you got to kind of like work it in and go back and forth. So I did all of this just by hand without using the tool at all. But that's great to get that all finished for today. And it's gonna get kind of cold tonight, but probably by the end of the day tomorrow, most of this should be like dried or cured or whatever you call it. And then tomorrow I'm gonna be applying the rest of this liquid spray-on sealant. I'm gonna get a second seal up there on the curved area, and I'll probably put a a second coat on all this as well. The second coat goes on, it uses a lot less because it's like the mortar is much less porous. And same with this, where I put the second coat on the epoxy, it used way less epoxy to get coverage on it compared to the first coat. So anyways, that's all for the kind of sealant type stuff and kind of some updates on how all of this maintains over the winter through the freeze here in Vermont. And especially on these flat areas with very little slope. There's some areas in here where it's basically, there's like little pools that will kind of form. And so the main thing I've had here is there's kind of like cracks that go across this way. Like here's one, you can see just a little crack that goes that goes that way. And so that's a tensile force type thing. But just sealing those cracks can help prevent the water from getting underneath. But yep, that's all for today. So it's Wednesday midday, and I got my first look at this, the second coat of the epoxy after overnight. And there's some sort of negative things, like look at this. I think that's because it got to just about freezing last night, which it's not the right temperature for this stuff to dry and cure. I still think it's a lot better than before, so that's a slight negative. It's not so bad, but it's not ideal. But better to get it on than not get it on. But probably sometime in the future, maybe next season, I might end up applying a third coat. And there's some sort of like liquid here. I think that's from like maybe the separation of the epoxy, because I don't think that's water, like condensation or whatever from overnight. But so that's a slight negative it's just late in the season. There's not going to be there was no better time to apply it. I'm just running up against the changing of the season. So it is what it is. And it's only in kind of like the pooly areas, and like I said, it's still a lot better than before, so not a big deal. And so what I'm going to do now, I just prepped this whole surface to get the clear sealant on. So I'm going to put that in my sprayer and then apply that to this, and then do a little bit of kind of sweeping, back brushing, make sure that all this is super well sealed. And then after that, I will prep this surface over here and get a second coat on that. Hopefully I won't eat it this time from slipping. And then after that, I'll apply it to the Citadel over there and see if I get through all of that sealant. And if not, I will apply more. Like I'll probably apply it on that rounded surface on that tunnel, the top of that tunnel over there. And I definitely want to get the top of probably get a second coat on this. I already got one on it, but I'll get a top on sort of the buttress over there. That's important to get, and probably this little thing too. So applying sealant everywhere where I'm not going to need to get necessarily mortar to bond with it in the future, and it will just keep everything better through the winter. All right, so this all has a second coat on it. I'm pretty sure all of this was already like really well sealed, and there wasn't any penetration on this whole dome thing underneath that. Like after heavy rain, lots of rain from underneath, I don't think you could see any wetness getting through, though there was a few spots up there where underneath up in the tower you could see some of the moisture was getting through. So this is just like double layered now, and hopefully that's all fixed as well. And I've got plenty more of the sealant, so I'm gonna apply it to these other places now. We got another low flyer today. At least it's flying at low propeller speed, so it's not loud. But it flew right over from there, going super slow. Probably at just about stall speed. Anyways, so I used the rest of my sealant. I didn't get full coverage, and part of this over here got 2 coats, so I probably should have like saved that for last, and then maybe I would have gotten 1 coat on all of it. But there's a couple areas like right around there that I wasn't able to get, but I tried to get the most important areas, being the drains, the valleys of the drains, which are always going to have water and ice in them. Most everything is holding up well on this. This has been through 2 winters now with no sealant, and the only area where there is some issues is right near the corner right here. Some of this got pitted out, and that's where I would throw salt in the wintertime to keep the drain from freezing. So I'm like pretty impressed with that. There's just one area here where I had done one kind of maintenance thing last year, and then I did a little bit over there for maintenance this year. And then as far as all this, I haven't walked on it yet, but it looks really good. The epoxy on this whole area, the tower of the Citadel, which I was thinking maybe I would get a roof on that this year, but I also had other plans. I was going to build a whole nother a whole nother thing, but I guess that'll probably be for next year. We'll see what happens. But I took all my time this season went to the Molly Stark Tower. But really happy with the results and got really good coverage with the sealant. Most likely I am going to have to buy probably 10 more gallons of the epoxy, like another $500 of the epoxy to really preserve the roofs over there. And I'll likely get some more of this like liquid spray on stuff to be able to, I don't know, I might not even get that this year. Anyways, that's all for today. Alright, so it's Sunday morning on October 19th, which is second week of Priam in the 9th year of Velodium. And what I'm doing today is I'm going to work on these. I'm going to get the foundation set up for this umbrella insulation situation that I'm doing over here. So the umbrella insulation. Oh, hey Chippy, what you doing? Hey, cute Chippy. Oh. So the umbrella insulation is going to go all the way down to here somewhere, just like that panel is already down there. But the problem is the ground is all not level through here. But I do have a whole pile of rocks here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix the last batch of mortar I have, and then in conjunction with these rocks, I'm going to set the ground level of these insulation panels so that I can start working my way up. It's going to be slightly confusing, but basically it's just the ground level is the hard, like this down here, the base of it is the hardest to do. And once I can set the base, it'll be a lot easier to step up, going up the hillside to insulate all the way up here. And so I'm gonna use the rocks in my last batch of mortar to try to flatten out underneath where the panels will go, and then I'll start setting panels down. So I'm not sure exactly how to do that, but that's the goal. So it's all kind of like just making it up as I go. So here's where I disposed of a lot of insulation waste, just to kind of fill a gap underneath where its insulation value will be useful. Did a little kind of loose rock wall on the other side. And there's going to be some critters that just have the best house and just love me so much for this space right here. Probably this chibi. So the secret to success is lowered expectations. In case you didn't know that, that's the secret. So there's not really a right way to do this, but fundamentally it's kind of like terracing, and it's kind of just like organizing the panels. And we've got about 3 feet of insulation in the corner there, and I'm trying to make it, I really don't even know what I'm doing, to be honest, but that's a start with 2 cans of foam. And I gotta let that cure for a second, get some food, take care of the animals, and get back to it. So it's Tuesday, October 21st, nice sunny day, and I got this last piece of polycarbonate up. So now I've used pretty much the whole thing. So the 2 end pieces are the door and here, and then I got the 2 big pieces there. And what I'm gonna do right now is finally get an undercoat on this part of the arch, which I clearly haven't gotten to. And so I'm about to mix probably just 1 bucket of mortar with a little bit of this bonding liquid stuff, whatever it's called, the concrete bonding adhesive, and get it on here. So it's Thursday, October 23rd. I am gonna see about closing up the last holes there with panels, and also seeing if the boys will be good enough to hang out here while I do work instead of hang out in the pen, since I don't really have any more tree branches to give them because everything's losing its leaves. Though I do want to see if they'll eat that willow tree. So I'm going to cut down some branches of the willow tree, see if they eat that. Otherwise, there's lots of leaves for them to eat. And then I don't think I ever took a video at the end of the other day to show how far I got on this whole umbrella insulation project, which got over to here basically. And this is, I think, is as far as I'm going to go on the base over here. And you can see how, like, right where Benedict is, it's like the insulation is 3 feet tall right there. And just trying to sort of flatten it out, terrace it out. So basically the idea is I've got to insulate the ground all around the tower so that the ground doesn't have frost heaves underneath the tower and the tires, earth ram tires, which are just on top of the dirt. So if I can insulate from the ground out, then the ground shouldn't freeze. And that's the idea of all this. So this is as far as this is going to go. And then I'll end up basically like bringing this around from this level and kind of trying to get somewhere between like 6 to 10 feet out from the side of the structure, and then insulating the ground, stepping this up all the way on the outside. And then once I can get the ground insulated all the way around, then I'll start insulating the tires all the way around. But I'm not starting with that right now. I'm gonna keep starting with the walls. I had all sorts of issues with these windows, largely because of the Trump tariffs. And the windows that I had gotten a good deal on, I ended up having to pay like an extra $180 per window just to get them. And so I ended up paying, I don't know, like $1,800 for 5 windows or something along those lines, which isn't really that ridiculous. But when those windows, everything up on the top floor was all free. And so I'm shelling out the money for these and for the stuff on the bottom floor. But it'll be nice because the window's all open. And that'll be cool. And then I ordered some more gold foil, reflective foil for those round windows too. So they should end up all being the same. They should all be round gold reflective windows for the circle ones, which will be good. And especially kind of to help with the 3D effect of everything, to not be able to like see how you can see through that window to see the other window, and then it shows kind of takes away from the 3D effect of it. So to have the gold foil on it just makes it look a lot nicer. And I really like how those other windows are. So once I can finish up the blocking out the walls on the first floor, then I'll get back to this umbrella insulation stuff. Over here it's going to be really tricky because we've got like a gutter situation going on, and I've got to run the insulation over the gutter, which is going to be tricky, and it also undermines the insulation because for the water to get through, the air has to also be able to get through. But anyways, I'll get to these insulation panels, and hopefully these boys will be good. Hey, don't eat that, Benny. And of course they're being bad right away. So, by the end of the day on Thursday, I got a lot of this blocked in with the insulation pieces. I'm still working on this side over here. That's some good progress. So, it is Saturday, October 25th. I am making more progress over here. I've got, actually this right here is the most important part, like this corner, to insulate all this, because this is like the most structural element other than that column there, but that one already has a lot of umbrella insulation around it. So I'm working my way around, and it's kind of like a pinch spot there because of this fence, which makes it a little bit difficult to insulate there. And also because of this fence, there's a bit of an issue that this umbrella insulation is like right up against the fence, so that's going to cause issues with snow, and it's going to increase like the rot rate of that fence. But ultimately that wooden fence is a temporary thing, and if the fence rots out, I can in the end just kind of like add a ferrous cement wall similar to that umbrella insulation over here, so it just looks like a big solid rock. So it would be like a rock wall face there eventually when this wood will rot out, which some of it already is, which is why I have to add these 2x4s to reinforce the cross pieces which rot out first. But yeah, just building this up, and I just wanted to give you a little view of how I'm doing this. So like once it's on a flat surface, it's easy, but the difficulty is kind of like the transition between the flat and the hillside. So I have a lot of these long triangular pieces, and so I kind of break those up and cut them and try to fill the gap as much as possible, and kind of tack things in with the spray foam. I'll try to foam the big panels together so they get nice and solid. And then over here, where there's then just kind of like the loose spaces, and then around this bush, I want to kind of not kill this bush and let it keep living. So I just pour the loose styrofoam over all. Look how well the Molly Stark Tower is camouflaged. Hey boys, cut that out. Don't eat that box. Got a package. Hey, get out of there. Bad boys. Look how well it's camouflaged. You can barely even see it. That one tree, almost all the trees are losing their leaves all yellow. But that one tree is the slowest to turn. But as the leaves fall on that one tree, the tower comes into sight. Still for now, you see the flag. Getting some books for the winter time, for the winter studies. Pretty boys. More packages today, more books. I am getting books from, ooh, this is a cool one. Have we heard about this? This is a book about how, or documenting evidence of how the Africans came to America from Mali in like 1310. I'm gonna read that one. That sounds cool. And I also like these James Clavell books. So I got a couple of them because I've already read a number of them, which I enjoyed. From Shogun, and I'm currently reading Taipan. Cool, kind of like historical fiction. And then I also really like this guy, Werner Vinge. It's like sci-fi, and the dude's like a libertarian and into all this AI stuff, and I recommend those ones too. Also, I got something really important here, which is 12-inch Sawzall blade, so I can cut these panels a lot easier. And just hanging out with the boys as they're doing a little grazing at the end of the day. End of the day, Wednesday. And cleaning up the sticks after using up the rest of the concrete sealant material. So the epoxy over here in the Citadel Tower had some issues. I think it was all because of the temperature mixed with the fact that this was all like quite flat and I didn't apply any kind of like acid to make it more rough. So there's some areas where it didn't bond, like you can see here. Overall, it's still a lot better than not having it, but just good learning lessons. Still much improved and probably sealed a lot better than previously. But I'll have to see about at some point. This is probably all I'll do for this winter. I'll see how this gets through the next winter, and maybe or through this winter, and then maybe next year I'll see about applying more or something, because we're getting into the freezing temperatures. So there's some interesting things here, like how it turned white in some areas, and then some areas just didn't really bond so well. But I would say probably more than 60-70% of it is still pretty well bonded, and even the places where it didn't have the best bonding, it still looks like it's a lot better sealed than it was previously. So generally an improvement, and also good learning lessons. So it is Sunday, November 2nd, and the march of the panels continues. I am attacking the slope with terraced recyclable insulation panels, and around the trees I leave a little space, and then I put the loose styrofoam around there, as well as like in all the little holes, and then I cut up the styrofoam without the insulation, or without the panels, and I fit it in as good as I can, and then I put the loose styrofoam over it, and then I stack the panels up, and basically making some good progress. It's kind of like slow progress, but still good progress. And I'm aiming to get so I've just about enclosed this tree here, so I leave a little space, and then I'll put the loose styrofoam around it, and basically I want to get this umbrella insulation up the rest of the hill, kind of like up to there. And I'm using up a whole bunch of it, but I have a lot left still. And basically what I'm thinking is I'm going to use the thick panels for like the ground, and basically that's keeping the heat down in the ground in the wintertime so it doesn't escape out to the air, so that it doesn't freeze. And then I'm going to put like the thinner, like the 6-inch panels, basically I think on the sides, though I'm not sure how high I'm going to go up, but certainly no higher than the windows, but maybe not even that high, because it won't look very good. So, all right. What do you think you boys are doing out there? Not supposed to be on the roof. What does this look like? You're not supposed to be up there. You boys better get down from there. Off of the roof, off of the roof. They're extorting me. They know. You know, if they get on the roof, they get treats. Woo! Alright, boys. And I can't close the gate yet until the other chickens get in. Come on, Wasabi, get in here. What do you think you're doing? Don't you have food right here? Little chubbers. Oh boy, Wasabi's getting in his first fight. See if he can move his way up the pecking order. He's in a fight with one of the girls. And the other boys are coming in. They're saying, break it up, break it up. Butterscotch and Vangari. Oops. There's Wasabi. Did you win, Wasabi? I couldn't quite tell. So one area I've been focusing on getting all the insulation out of is I had these triangles, these long foam triangles stacked up over here. And so I'm clearing all these out first because I'm going to make room. And then once I move this wooden thing, I'll be able to get right up against the back wall of this. And in part 2 of the fall projects, I'll show you what I'm going to do there. But I just wanted to give you a little sneak peek. So it's the end of the day on Tuesday, November 4th. There's probably some suckers out there giving away their sovereignty, doing the, self-sacrifice voting ritual, ensuring that nothing ever changes and that they'll always be a slave. And made some good progress on the insulation panels here. I got around the tree and I'm basically up to the far wall. There's still a lot left to do, but I've got through all of my 12-inch panels, or I think they're actually 11 inches to be specific, other than these little ones which I'm going to be piecing in. But all of the 12-inch panels that I had up here I've got tin through, though I still have a lot more over on the far side of the green fence over there. I'll just have to empty this trailer and then use it to bring the rest of them through, and see about that tomorrow if the weather is good. And I was completely serious about lowering your expectations to reach success, at least with things like this. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be level, there's going to be holes, it's not going to be super tight. The point is to get the material in place and use as much recycled material as possible, and basically try to minimize the amount of foam that is necessary. Though it is necessary to use a good bit of foam, but depending on how you do it, there's a big difference on how much foam you go through. And this is way less tight than the insulation on the top of the Molly Stark Tower, because it's just totally different here. And I can just stack it up, so on average it's all going to be 2 feet thick at least, if not thicker. And so today I went through 5 cans of foam, which is less than $25. So for a day's work, and I mean not a full day, but I'm probably 4 or 5 hours or something, going through about $5 an hour or something. So pretty good for the amount of progress that I'm making, and really happy with the result. And I'll get back to it tomorrow. So it is the last day of this episode, the last day of the first month of the 9th year of Lodium, last day of Priam. I just made the intro video, and I got through about more than half of these panels in the last couple days. And my goal today is to use up the last of these thick panels and get them all onto the foundation over there. And the first 2 windows should be here within a week. So in the next episode, I should be able to get all 5 of those windows in and get the bottom of that all sealed and then the top all sealed, and have that all, basically get the tower all closed up so that I can have a fire going in there, and then that can be heated. And then after that I can work on getting it livable in there, because that'll be another living space. And then I've got another plan for over there that I kind of gave you a little hint of. Basically, well, I won't even get into it, but you'll see in the next episode. So the next episode will be at least 4 weeks. It'll be the month of Scorpio, and it might be a little bit longer. It might go all the way up until the winter solstice, to wrap up the fall, basically, depending on how everything is going. There's so many fascinating things going on. All the units here, there's 5 different residences in addition to mine, and they're all occupied. Everyone's super happy, affordable income housing. Everyone loves living here at OG Foundation / Inalodium. So yeah, here's the panels now. I did some little these ones here to kind of just wrap out this little walkway, and then the stairs there, and I've got panels all the way up to the top over here. There's a couple areas where I'm leaving a little space where I want to put mortar in over there, but most of it I'm going right up to the base of the structure. And so you can see what panels are loose, and my goal is to get the rest of those applied today, and we'll see how it goes. All right, mission complete. They're not all totally foamed, but basically all the big panels are in place. I got all the way up to the ferro cement, basically all the way around. All the tires are insulated. Let me kind of step back and give you a view from over here. So it sure ain't pretty, but gets the job done. The ground is very well insulated all throughout this whole thing, and the slope is conquered with terrace. And I've used all of my thick panels, even the extra thick ones. It turns out there's 2 different widths. These are like 10-inch, and then those are like 12-inch. But anyways, it's the end of the day. It's raining. That is the end of this episode for the part 1 of the fall projects. Gotta go get the boys done for the day. And now I can start working on that direction. And I've got all sorts of these 6-inch panels. I'll probably do a bit up on the wall, but that is it for, oh, look, we can zoom out a little bit. That's it for this episode with all the insulation and stuff. All right, thanks for tuning in. See you in a month or so.